Hi everyone, it's craftytinas. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make this really cute box book. This is a double shadow box into a book. I have nice glitter vinyl for the binding, the spine itself. We have a Velcro closure that wraps around, and this is a 4.5 by 4.5 shadow box. Now, the instructions does not tell you how to make a 4.5 by 4.5, so you will need my log. Now, you can get that on my Facebook page. I have a log for the cinch, I have a log for the mini cinch, and now I have a log for the shadow box. So these are half pages that you can fold in half and put actually in a book. Today's video is going to show you how to make this using the shadow punch board, and we're going to make what's inside using the cinch. You do not need a cinch because you do not need to put something inside exactly the way we're doing it. You can use this box for any gift. So we have an actual log that will let you make all of these sizes, more than the 4 sizes that the actual board gives you. So we can make squares and we can make rectangles simply by following these guides. This board does not care what size your shadow box is. It only knows that the size of the paper you originally start with is going to give you the end results. That's why you need this log. This is on my Facebook page and there will be a link in the description. We also have 2 logs. This is the mini. This is showing you how you can use your mini punch and not just do 6 punches. You're actually able to do the split wire, which I will show you in a second. This mini guide will help you punch your holes properly using the mini cinch. And then we have our regular cinch log that has grown to be 2 pages now. All these wonderful things we have made with the cinch. I have video tutorials so that you can see how to make all different sizes of notebooks. So let's open up our little double shadow box book. We have the Velcro enclosure. I just simply used little Velcro sheets from Dollar Tree. They have a smooth side and a rough side. They're self-adhesive. I punched out circles. Whoops. This is a 1-inch circle that I used. And I found the pretty little shape of the paper and I punched it that way. I punched 2 so I could have one for both sides. This is a strip of cardstock. And now for the inside. Ta-da! Isn't that adorable? So we have our own little stationery kit in here. I have added a bag of crayons, all 8. I took them out of the box and put them in a little zipper bag. You can get these on Amazon. You can get these pretty much anywhere in the crafts jewelry section at Walmart. I put all 8 crayons in a little Ziploc bag. I added a piece of cardstock to match my shadow box, which I'm going to show you. And then I added 2 magnets. These are from Amazon. These are self-adhesive. I'll put the link in the description for you. They're from 3M. They're not strong magnets, so what I bought them for won't work. However, they work really well for this little guy. You do not have to put crayons in here. You can put anything you would like. One of the things I would like is a matching button magnet. If you put a magnet or a washer in here, you can put a washer in here underneath your paper, then your magnetic button would stick to your washer, and you can have 2 of them in here, or you could go with the larger size and just put 1. The button press makes some great magnets, and I'm hoping to get back to playing with that some, but I have been so obsessed with this little board and all the possibilities it can do. So we have our pretty little crayons in a bag. The magnetic holds them perfectly. They do not fall out. For this side over here, I made a 3-inch by 3-inch, just a little notebook. to write, color, draw, write down some ideas. It is 60 pages. It is 3 by 3 because you can get 6 of these from one sheet. This is 10 pieces of 20-pound printer paper, copier paper, whatever. It's just the cheap sheets that you would just put in your printer and print out. I used gold 9/16 wire, and I did the split design on purpose. We don't need to do the split design in order to use our regular size cinch, and I will show you that. But when you're using your little mini cinch, this thing punches 6 holes. And it does not allow you not to punch a hole like the original cinch does. So for this, you will need to do the split wire, which I will also show you. And it is on the mini sheet. If you want to do a 2 by 2, it shows you where to line it up. You punch, flip, and punch again. And that is why you need the mini cinch log, which is on my Facebook page. And then we have this mini pin. I've used these before. I simply wrapped gold vinyl. That's what this is. This is the Dollar Tree vinyl. It's just permanent glitter paper is what they're calling it, but it's an actual adhesive vinyl. And I put gold on the outside. I put gold on my pen. And then I couldn't find my gold. I don't know what I did with it or if I used it all. I put purple for the inside binding. You have nothing on the edges. You only have the vinyl on the outside. I wasn't going to put any on the inside. I didn't want it to cover up my pretty little frames. However, I noticed that you can kind of pull it apart when you don't put the vinyl on the inside. So on my next book, we're going to make the inside binding look the same as the outside binding. The little mini pin fits in here snug. Over time, this would get loose and fall out, but this little gift is not meant to last forever. I took some scrap paper that was really cool with the gold magnetic metallic look, added, again, scraps, two rings and 2 rings, and it fit absolutely perfect. This is a 4.5 by 4.5 frame, which is not on the instructions. You will need my log in order to do that, or you can write down the measurements when we go through and do the tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to make the whole thing, including the little notebook. I've already cut out the supplies to make it easier and faster, and I will give you all the dimensions as we go, so you can write them down and do this later. It is an absolutely darling little book. I was born in the 70s, so in the 80s, for Christmas, we always got these little books of candy, and they were lifesavers, and you would open it up and they would have rolls of different flavors of the lifesaver rolls. I don't know, I think they might still do that, but I absolutely loved getting that in my stocking because it had a whole roll of all their different flavors. I think there were like 8 in a pack, so getting that much candy in one shot was awesome. I don't eat them anymore, but that's exactly what this little book reminded me of. You can leave the items out and perhaps put a gift in here that is thicker than the 1/2 inch. Maybe the gift you want to give someone is thick. We're going to use this as an example. You know, what if your gift was too thick for the box itself? Then you could use this as the box, close it up, and when it's opened, it reveals the gift. So I think this would make a nice little gift box. It would be really cute. You could put candies in here. You could add double-sided tape and put some little chocolates in here, wrapped, not unwrapped. You don't have to put the magnets in here. There's just so many options for this little box. But the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make a little stationery box because I love making these. And right now I absolutely love making the shadow boxes. This is like my 4th video on the shadow box. So if you're considering this, please go check out my other videos. If you already have this, you may also want to check them out to get more helpful hints. So let's get started. We're going to go through our supplies, and let's do this one step at a time. The first thing I want to do is I want to make 2 identical shadow boxes. We have all these little things cut out. I have my scrap wire. When you're making books and you end up with just a little bit of wire, it's always good to hang on to it because you never know when we're going to use it. So for this, we're making a 4.5 outside dimension. We're going to get our shadow box sheet. We want the outside to be 4.5 by 4.5. So we're going to go outside 4.5 by 4.5. My paper, what I need to start with, needs to be 8.5. That's very important. If I want the outside of my box to be 4.5, my paper has to be 8.5. This is not as important right now. We do not need to know the inside. But if I was trying to find a gift box to fit something specific, I would want to know the inside. That's why this column is here. It gives you the inside dimensions and what the outside dimensions will be if you start with this size. And because we are doing the 4.5 by 4.5, my paper has to start at 8.5. I do not recommend paper. You need to use cardstock. It doesn't have to be thick and sturdy. The thicker it is, the stiffer your box is going to be, and the more sturdy your box will be. Now that I have 2 pieces of paper that is 8.5, we're going to come over here and we're going to make our first shadow box. All we need to do is score 4 lines on all 4 sides. Because this is 8.5, it fits on our board, so it's not one that hangs over. So it's super easy. This is not one of the ones they list for you in the written instructions or on the board. This is one you have to do yourself. Again, super easy, doesn't require any extra thought. Now that we have the size of paper we need, the board will just do what it does automatically. Because this is going to be a 1/2 inch deep shadow box, which is the only size this can make, it does not matter about anything else once we start with 8.5. So now that I have score lines on all 4 sides, I'm going to punch. Because this is square, it doesn't matter what side we start. Whatever side we start, we do a punch and a punch, and then the opposite side, a punch and a punch. So we're going to put the paper inside, punch, slide the paper over so that it comes out here, but it's still in there, and punch again. First corner. Now we need to go to the same side. This is the side we're working on, so we want to go to this corner. So we need to flip it. We're going to punch and punch. Now we have one side done. We need to go to the other side opposite, not the side that already has something cut out. That part is very important. Punch, slide, punch. We are going to flip again because we're going to stay on the same side. And we are going to punch, slide, punch. Now we're going to remove all our little pieces of paper. Now we are going to fold everything in. I want this print to be my frame. This is my inside. I have colored cardstock for my inside once I close it up so that it is not white. You can leave it white. It's purely your choice. So now we're going to fold everything to the inside. All 4 sides. Everything goes in. As long as you lay it flat, bottom side of the paper up, you'll be good. If you have double-sided cardstock, whatever's on this side is what's going to be on the inside of your shadow box. I don't have a lot of double-sided cardstock, but it kind of makes me wish I did. The next thing we need is score tape, which, here's my score tape. You need to put it on the ends that are angled. we're going to roll this into a tube, a nice square tube. That looks just like that. Only one side, and that was the last side, gets stuck to the actual bottom. So now we're going to come over here and do the same thing. Again, forming a tube, laying it flat so that we can make sure it's stuck on all over. Now we're going to do each side. We're going to put the score tape in the inside, in between where these little slanted lines right past that final score line. You're going to put it in both sides. And then you're going to do the same thing where you roll this up into a square tube, tucking it inside the slanted tube on each side. If you take the end and line it up with the last score line and then roll it, it seems to do the best. And you're going to have to move your little sides as you're rolling it. It needs to fit in there. And it's going to go in there exactly nice and square. Once you have it in there nice and square, you can lay that down so that you can push down for the adhesive. And that will be perfect, nice and square. We are going to glue these corners in just a second. So now let's take the score tape off the other side, line that edge up to the last scoring line, put those little edges in there, put the next edge in there, and now we've rolled that square tube to where it's nice and square and tucked in. Now we can lay it flat so we can make sure we do the adhesive really well. For your corners, you're going to use some glue, and I'm just using this Turbo Tacky glue. I'm not a huge fan on it for this because to me it seems to take a little too long to dry, but I like it for other things. I do have some new glue coming in. We're simply putting it on the corner that's going to be up on top so we can tuck it into these lines. So you're wanting to tuck it back in so that glue holds that slanted line because you want it to stay square. And you probably want to do one side at a time. I was just trying to save you guys from basically watching glue dry because it does take a second or two for this to actually dry, and that's why I've got some new stuff coming. I like the way the flowers actually ended up on top for this one. This one got cut off, but it's still kind of pretty, but I love the way the little row of flowers actually fit on top of there. So now I have a perfectly square 4.5 shadow box. I want to make sure I don't have any glue on my counter before I put this back down. And now I want to add my yellow cardstock that is cut 3.5 by 3.5 because that's the inside of this board. You can put adhesive if you like. If you're going to do the magnetic side, you will want to put adhesive on that inside cardstock. So that is our first shadow box. Give me one moment and I'm going to score all 4 sides of this one. Now I have all 4 sides scored. I didn't want to bore you guys through that. I am going to have you watch me do the punches again because I think it's super important for you to understand that part. You're going to put any corner in because this is the same size on all 4 sides. Punch, push it over, punch. Now we're working with this side, so we're going to flip it over. You're going to punch, put it over, punch again. Now we have this side, so we need to work on this side. We're going to flip. We're going to punch. And when you get too many punches over there, you can actually feel it underneath. Slide it over, punch, flip it, we're still working on this side, punch, slide it over, punch, and now we can put it together. We're going to fold everything in just like we did on the last one. Don't go too fast and not score on your score lines and then make it crooked, because this is the shape of your shadow box. So I'm going a little faster than normal just to save you guys time on the video, but take your time until you get comfortable and make sure you give it a good scoring line. You can even use your scoring tool, makes a much crisper line. Once you have them all done, you want to put score tape on the ones with the points. It's important to start with the ones on the points, in my opinion, and tucking them in. That might be the way you're supposed to do it. I didn't like the directions. And I didn't like the directions because it doesn't tell you a whole bunch and it only gives you 4 options. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't buy this board for 4 little squares. We're going to roll that into a tube. We're going to take the score tape off and roll this one into a tube. And because these were cut out of the same paper, same size, we have our cute little row of flowers. So when we put this together, we're going to make sure that we match. It's going to be really cute that way. We're going to put our score tape down below. And now we're going to roll this side. Guess I didn't push the tape down. We're going to roll this into a cute little tube again, making sure we can go underneath the little flaps. Getting it in there square is important before you mash it down. You want to make sure that it can be squared. So far, it really does square up nicely. I haven't had any trouble with warped boards. We're going to roll this one in as well. Just making sure that it is square on the outside and straight down on the inside before we really stick the adhesive, because before you commit to sticking that adhesive, you can remove it and open it back up. So now we need to put glue in the corner. So you see how we have the top piece here. Our glue has to go in this corner so it can go underneath. This makes the box a little more sturdy. We're going to put a little glue. If you put too much though, it does make the little corners wet and they don't feel good at all. They feel very compromised at that point. Because remember guys, this is paper, it's not wood or plastic. So we are going to glue those 2 corners. You want the glue to be on that diagonal line. If you get any extra and it squeezes out, just wipe it off. But it only takes a little bit, and it only takes a few seconds for the glue to dry. If you have a quicker drying glue, just make sure you close it up pretty quick. You don't want your glue to dry before you get it stuffed into that little area. Once you've got it squared up, yes, I'm wiping the glue on my clothes again, you can hold that little glue area, make sure it sticks down. It's important that your shadow boxes are square for this, because you want both of these to be the same size. And the only way for that to happen is to make sure that they are square. This one's a little off, and I'm okay with a little off. This one is not sticking, so we're just going to add a little bit more glue and kind of force it. You will stick. So the next thing we're going to do, let's get rid of all this little paper. We're going to put the inside in, but we're going to put some double-sided adhesive on it because this is the side I'm putting my magnets on for my little crayon bag. Now, if you want to put something in here more adult-like, you could put some planner labels in the little Ziploc bag and put on that side. You can also put a pack of Post-it notes on that side. You don't have to make it for a child, or you don't have to make it for someone who doesn't want to color. I say for a child, but I still like to color. So let's put some double-sided adhesive, and if this one's still not sticking, this is why I ordered new glue. Certain craft rooms, you're going to find 2 or 3 types of glue because you sometimes need a different glue for each surface. I like this glue for gluing my flowers down, but it doesn't. There we go. Now it's sticking. It just needed a few more seconds. I like this for putting down my flowers on things. It does pretty good. When I put my leaves, they did really well. Like, they are really secure. So it's not bad glue, it's just different applications need different glue. You're going to put double-sided adhesive or glue, whatever you wish to use, on one side so you can stick it in. And you want to get it all the way into one side before you start going down. It is going to fit snug, it's supposed to. If you use your fingernail, you can put it underneath the edge. And now you have a colored bottom instead of a white because the back of the paper was white. You can leave it white if white is the look you want. Now, because these pages were identical, I want to make sure that I put them identical. But that's just me. You don't have to. They can go any way. Because this is one-way paper, you can even have it go 2 different ways on each side. I want it to go the same. I want to line it up the same to where my little flowers are right here. The next step we need to do is we need to put the spine. This was super easy, guys. This box is 4.5. This piece of glitter vinyl is 2.5. That's because this is 1 inch and I wanted a little extra on each side. So this has 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, and 3/4 of an inch. Now we're going to take this. I made this slightly longer than my boxes because I want to cut them straight. But size-wise, how wide this is, it's 2.5. We're going to take this and lay it down sticky side up. Lay it somewhere where you have some kind of little guide to try to get it straight. Not really overly important. You're not going to see both sides at the same time, so if you're a little off, it's not going to matter. Again, I want my book to open like this. So this needs my spine. I'm going to put this together. I'm going to put this down in the center, but lining up the top. I'm holding it together on purpose, lining it up on top, and then just laying it down. So now I have 3/4 of an inch on both sides. And as you can see, I have a little more on this side than I do on this side, and it's okay because you're not going to see both sides at the same time. Just rub this side over here really well. And then starting at the center and work your way out. Turn it over, start at the center and work your way out. And now make sure it's all stuck. And you need to cut this side off. So we're going to grab some scissors. We're going to cut this side. Then we're going to come over and cut this side. And I'm going at an angle on purpose. I don't want the vinyl to stick over. And then we're going to cut the center. And once you do that, you can go back with small scissors and trim up anything that looks like it's hanging over. See this to me, oh, there we go. This looks like it is hanging over, and I don't want any vinyl hanging over because you don't want it to catch and pull that vinyl off. So now I have my book spine. It's very glittery. I don't know if you guys can see that in the camera. I did not in the beginning put this strip in the center here. You see, you can see the vinyl, the inside, and I was okay with that. It's just a gray little vinyl instead, but it was pulling apart when you pull it. And again, this still did not stick. Let's add enough glue that it's gonna stop this. It's craziness. All right. So, back to my spine while this is drying. Normally I would walk away and let it dry for a few seconds, but it's probably mad because I'm rushing it. So because you could see that, it didn't bother me, but because you could almost pull it apart, it bothered me. So you're gonna hold that really tight, and you're gonna take a smaller piece of vinyl. And I thought I already had one cut here. I did 3/4 of an inch. I think I was gonna show you how to cut 3/4 of an inch. Most paper cutters, it's really hard to cut smaller than an inch, but if you have the works board, it actually does really well when it comes to small cuts. So I wanted this to be 3/4 of an inch. And because the blade cuts outside of the guard, it actually does really good for cutting something small. So I'm gonna put it in my 3/4 and cut. And you guys see how small that is, but yet it's still cut really well. So this is the Works board by We Are Memory Keepers. It has the scoring, the cutting, and a whole bunch of other features that I have yet to explore. We will get to that if I can stop making shadow boxes. So this vinyl is going to go straight down the middle, and I'm going to overhang. You don't have to if you don't want to, but in case I didn't line it up properly, I want to make sure I overhang so that I can get everything covered. So we're going to take this 3/4 inch piece of adhesive glittered vinyl. And guys, I meant to fold this in half and show you how to line this up properly, because you have to squeeze this and put this in straight. As you can see, you need to overhang. This is not how I rehearsed it. We're going to go just like that. I'm going to hold these together and bring this down. The way I did this was I folded it before I took the back off, and I gave it a really good crease. Then I took the paper off one side, put the sticky down, finished pulling the paper off, and then laid the other side down. That's how I wanted to show you, but actually that didn't do bad. I didn't think I'd be able to line it up properly, but it did pretty good. So let's cut off the excess. And now that we're here, we can see that there's some excess on this top. Get the sticky off the scissors. And there's a little left in here. You can take some little snippy scissors and get the little edges better. I like the little snippy fingernail scissors. They work pretty well. There we go. Now we have our cute little shadow box book. And it's really cute and adorable. We can put something in up to 1 inch thick because now we have 2 1/2-inch sides. So now let's add the crayons. We're going to use these adhesive back magnets. All I did was take a piece of cardstock, and I cut this one a little bit wider, so I'm just going to shave some off. It is going to depend on your size of bag as to how much you need here. I purposely cut this using letting the flowers be on top and bottom, so this part doesn't matter. this part has to fit inside your bag. Now the reason I didn't put a box in there is because these boxes, because they're just cheap crayons I bought in a whole case, the boxes are super, super cheap. It's hard to get them back in the box once you've taken them out. So I didn't want kids or adults to struggle getting it back. So the best thing to put these in was a Ziploc bag. And I've used these for some of my other Cinch books. Once you get all your crayons inside the bag, put your piece of cardstock in. The cardstock helps the bag stay flat. So you don't want it to be super loose. You want it to be a little snug. This may be a little too snug. So let's shave just a little bit more off. The tighter fit, the better, but you don't want to have it forced and it be curved. Perfect. You want it to go in there just like that. You want it to hold the bag flat. So the next thing we need to do is we need to take and get 4 magnets. The magnets weren't very expensive, but they don't hold really good like I wanted them for another project. So that's why I'm using them for my paper crafting. So there's 3, and we need one more. 4. I will put the link for you in case you want these. We're going to flip our crayons to the back. You're going to put a magnet on each side, putting the adhesive down on the plastic. Put them a little bit apart. Now you're going to put the magnets together and then peel the back. Once you peel the back, and you want them down far enough where they don't interfere with the flap. Once you have them stacked up, sticky, ready to go, then you're going to put them in your box in the center and press down. That means your magnets are going to be in the right place for your bag. And they're going to be in there nice and secure. So now let's go make the little notebook. The little notebook is a 3x3. So I have my 10 pages, 6 per page. So I have 60 little 20-pound sheets. I have my 30-point chipboard. And I took these are the inside pieces, and they just needed to be slightly smaller than my 3x3. So I did them at 2 3/4, I believe. Slightly bigger than 2 3/4. And then for the outside covers, I have this shimmery little cardstock with flowers on it. So now I'm going to show you how to make your little covers. You're going to add some double-sided adhesive to your chipboard. You're going to place it in the center of your cardstock. You're going to snip your corners, but not go all the way to the chipboard. If you go all the way to the chipboard, you will be able to see the chipboard when you're finished in each corner. Now you're going to put adhesive on all 4 sides. If you want to know how to make other notebooks like this, I have several videos to help you guys out. We're going to fold each page, sticking it nice and secure. We have no chipboard showing in any of the corners because we didn't get too close. Once those are nice and secure, you're going to take your inside, and I embossed this cardstock, by the way, with a embossing folder. It's a We Are Memory Keepers. It's a really, I think it's a 3D, it's a very deep embossing folder. That is why they stand out so well. I'm not sure if they still make that embossing folder or what the name is, because they don't, We Are Memory Keepers didn't put the names on it. Sizzix and Cuttlebug sometimes would put the name on the folder, and that was very helpful. Because it's embossed, I want to make sure that I secured it good, so I went around all 4 sides, and then I did an X in the center. I can't get rid of this vinyl on me. Then place this in the center. And now I have the cover for my book. I'm gonna go do this one and be right back. Okay guys, here I am back doing the second cover. I wanted to show again, putting it on the inside. It is slightly smaller than 3. Now the size of that cardstock for the outside cover, this piece here, was 1 inch bigger. So this piece was 4 by 4. The chipboard was 3 by 3. The inside was slightly smaller than 3 by 3. I'm going to place that in the center. Now I have a front and back cover. The insides are nice and pretty, and my pages are 3 by 3. Now I'm going to show you how I punch them using the We Are Memory Keepers cinch. We have our 2 9 by 16 double loop wires for binding. I'm going to show you how to make this in the original full-size cinch with the round holes, but I'm also going to tell you how to do it using the mini. So let's start with the regular cinch. This is a split wire, and if you're using my logs, you know that a split wire, that's on page 2 because we have so many on this one now. The split wires for a 2 by 2 is not on here. I will go add that and update the sheet. Super easy. Split wire basically means you're punching 2 on one side and 2 on the other. So you would punch 2, punch, flip, and punch 2 more. Then you get 2 and 2, just like this little book. But because this is a small book and a large machine, it actually works out where you don't have to. You can put it in, you're going to push in 1 and 2, you're going to pull out 3, you're going to push in 4 and 5, and you're going to pull out 6 through 12. I like to do my front and back covers in the same order that they're going to be in my book. I like to do them at the same time. If you are using the mini, you need to do one at a time. It does not have the power that the full size has. So I'm simply going to put these in here. And they are a little snug because it was cardstock and cardstock with chipboard. And punch. And now I have 2 and 2. And you guys, remember I said it was a little tight? Do you see how off these are? There's plenty of space here. There's not much here. I am not going to remake these on camera, but I am going to punch the other side so I can show you that this is not right. And it's because they were snug, I did not push them all the way back. So I'm going to push them all the way back this time. And now I can tell that they are all the way back. Now they're even space across. Where here there's more space than here, I had this crooked. For the sake of this video, I'm going to continue making the book. We're going to pretend these holes doesn't exist. This is such a small tablet, I will just remake the covers later. Now we need to punch our paper. It will not punch that much paper at once, but it does a pretty good job. So we're going to do it into 3 sections. If you're using the mini, the limit on the pages is 15. I think that's a little much, and I do 10 at a time. So these are 60, so I'm doing like 20 on this machine. That's kind of the difference between the two. You have a full power machine, full capabilities, versus a smaller version. It just takes more punches. It takes a little longer. So now I have my pages and they're all punched perfect. I have my front and back cover. Now I'm ready to bind. Remember, we're pretending this doesn't exist, but let me explain how you would do this in your mini. Now, in your mini directions on my Facebook page, the 2x2 is there. I want to do 2x2. I am simply going to line it up. On the right side of 0, I line it up to the 3/4 mark. Right side of the 0, I line up on the 3/4. So I would put this in here on the 3/4, and I would punch my 2 holes. You see it's not making it over here to the 3rd hole. so that will not be a factor. Lining it up on the 3/4, I'd punch, flip, put it back in here on the 3/4, and punch again. Same thing on this machine. You need to push it all the way to the back. Don't have it catty cornered or crooked, or you will run into the problem we had here. Hopefully that makes sense. Binding it is the exact same, except this machine only does 5/8, or I have been doing my 9/16 because it's so close to 5/8. You can do the 9/16. So you would simply put the wires in, put them back here, and squeeze. That is for the mini cinch. For the full size cinch, because we can do so many different sizes, there's a guide up here, and you have to move the dial to where your wires are. And 9/16 is 1 click above the half. Because it is a split wire, I do 2, then I put the other 2 in and do them. Very important. Take your book the way it's going to look. Take your bottom piece, your back, put it on top with the inside facing up. Then you can take your wires, and because it's such a small book, we're not going to hang it on the side and put them all in there. Now my wires are ready to be bound. You're going to push it all the way in. They're going to touch the back, and you're going to hold it. They need to slightly overlap. I may have been a little crazy on this one. And still be round. I'm going to put the next 2 in. And I don't want these to be inside when this is punching this one. This will end up with a flat edge if you do that, because these are already round. You don't want to flatten them by rounding those. So I'm going to put them in and leave these 2 out. And now, when I open my book, the actual seam is on the inside of the back of the book, not the front. You could actually take some ribbon and run through these holes, tie a bow, and you would never suspect that this was a mistake. There's always a way to fix everything. My paper wrinkled. There we go. So now my little book fits in my box. The only other thing I did, and I'm not going to show you, is the little pen. I simply cut some adhesive vinyl and wrapped it around a mini pen, and that is truly an optional idea. So the last thing we have to do is we have to do the closure on this box. I struggled a little trying to figure out what I wanted to do for closing the actual box. And then I thought, well, you know, every time I see one of these kind of boxes, it's a little flap, especially if they're leather, coming over. So now let's make that. You're going to need your little elastic dots. They're self-adhesive. I'm going to make my little flap, which is 4 inches by 3/4. I'm going to cover a piece of cardstock in the vinyl. Well, I was going to cover it in the vinyl. We need a 4-inch piece, so I'm going to get that out of my scrap bin. It's always very important to have scraps. And we're going to use the vinyl, and I think that's what I may have intended to do. It is. This is going to be my strap, because I've cut it to 4 inches. It's going to wrap around. This is going to be my circles. So we are going to put some vinyl on cardstock because we don't want it to be super thin. We want it to be nice. We're going to punch 2 holes. This is a 1-inch hole. Put this back here. 1. And we're going to punch another one. I want to make sure that I get the glitter. And now I have 2 dots for my closure. Now I want to score this because I want the 1 inch to be in the center, and this is 4 inches. So I'm going to we're going to put this on here. This is 4 inches, and I want the center inch. So I want to do 1.5, turn it around, and do 1.5 again. And that gives me 1 inch for the center. So we're going to fold and fold, and we're going to make sure that it actually fits, and it does. The back side of my wrap around closure needs to have score tape, and it needs to be very secure. You want to make sure that no matter how many times you pull this off, it stays. So I'm going to put 2 pieces of score tape. I'm going to make sure it doesn't hang off the edge. Now I'm going to hold my book up like this. I'm going to put this right in the center, and then I can mash that down. You're not putting anything here or here yet because you don't want this to stick. This is going to close here. I know it puts this flower upside down, but I'm about to cover it up anyway. So now I want to put my dots on here. And again, we want them to stay nice and secure, so we're going to use score tape again. We're just going to put it on the flap itself. I don't want it to hang off, so anything that hangs off I want to fold back around. And I want to make sure I cover it all the edges, so it needs to come out like that. Now I want to put score tape on this side. Now my glitter vinyl doesn't like adhesive very well, so if you want to not use glitter on the back side, and I think I'm not going to, you can simply punch just a plain circle. For some reason, this Dollar Tree vinyl does not like adhesive. It doesn't like to stick. So I'm just going to use a plain piece. I want to match up the circle on the front. So there was a little bitty corner that hung over. I want to snip that off, but not snip my circle. So I'm going to force it to go up so I can snip it. I want to hold that circle and hold this circle and line them up before I mash them down so that they match up pretty close. That's why I used cardstock that was very close in color, because it is very hard to get 2 circles absolutely lined up. There's no straight edge to help you. So now that I have my circles, I can add my Velcro. So you can add the first piece in the center of your circle, and then you want to place the rough piece on top of it, and then pull the clear protective backing off so that the sticky is showing. Now you want to hold your book perfectly square, bring this over snugly and around, and press down. And you're doing that so you can get that Velcro dot lined up exactly. So now I can open it, make sure my dots are secure, and now I have the cutest little box book. This one's cuter, but that's okay. I'm not a pink, I'm a purple person. This is the cutest little thing, guys. And it has so much potential because you can put anything on the inside of this book and be good. You guys can also, if you ever do this and this is an error and you don't want to remake it because this might have been the last paper you had, you can actually take and put a paper or vinyl or any kind of border that wraps all the way around so you don't see either side. Or like I said, you can just run pretty ribbon, run it on each side, tie a bow in the center, you'll never notice. They're just happy little accidents that can easily be fixed. This is just a little 3x3. This may be a little a little much for these wires in here. I'm kind of second guessing myself, but I don't have any yellow in the other side, so this is probably a few pages too many. Maybe take out 6 pages or so. Let's see. 4, 5, 6. So instead of using 10 pieces of paper, you only use 9. That's better. Don't worry, the pages I just threw out, I put in my scrap paper bin, and I do reuse them for notes and for testing cuts. So that is it, guys. That is our double shadow box book box. What do you guys think? Just a few more ideas that we can do with the shadow box. It is not limited to the 4 square sizes that are on the instructions. We have a whole page of wonderful things we can do with our shadow box. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment below. Let me know what you think and what you would do differently, or what kind of creation you're going to make. My Facebook page is going to be in the description. Come get your logs so that you know how to use your machines. And as always, happy crafting.